If you're looking at this ugly mug, you know what time it is. Welcome to Bethea'S Byte Reloaded. I'm Ernest Bethea, the last outlaw. It is Wednesday, and I haven't taken a nap since earlier this morning. If you caught me earlier, I had the breaking story about Danilo Cavalcante finally being caught after 2 weeks on the run. But I am now here to do what I promised, and that's the deep dive into Ruby Franke. So if you're joining me, I'm good. It's so good to have you here with me. Get ready, buckle in. If you got to get your water, your popcorn, or whatever, get it now because we're deep diving. But before I take that deep dive, I want to direct your attention, as always, to our missing persons case of the week. So, let me get this screen up for you. And this hey, there we go. This little sweetheart here is Vanessa Morales. Now, the picture you've seen of her on your screen is back when she was about a year old, when she disappeared. Here's all the details. If my screen will load up, there we go. All right. Vanessa was born September 7th, 2018. At the time of her disappearance, she stood about 2 feet 2 inches tall, weighed around 17 pounds, with brown hair, brown eyes. She is probably about 5 years old today. Law enforcement authorities are searching for Vanessa Morales from Ansonia, Connecticut, after finding her mother deceased in their home on December 2nd, 2019. Vanessa was last seen by family members on Friday, November 29th, 2019. If anyone in the Ansonia or New Haven, Connecticut area has any information on Vanessa Morales' disappearance, you are asked to call 911 immediately. Call the New Haven FBI field office at 203-503-5555 or the Ansonia Police Department at 203-735-1865. You can also submit a tip online at tips.fbi.gov. Whatever you do not hesitate. This five-year-old girl needs to be brought home to family that cares and is worried about her. Please, if you see something, say something. Let's bring little Vanessa home, safe and sound. All right. Now that we got the missing person piece out of the way, it's time to go diving. Ruby Franke, I'm sure many of you remember the 8 Passengers YouTube channel. If not, you're probably more familiar with the Connexions, that's spelled with an X, not a CT, website in which Ruby is a vital part of, along with her business partner Jodi Hildebrandt. But the question of it all is, what would one have to do with the other? Strangely enough, you get to find out here first. As I'm pulling the article up right now, you can. There we go. Now, the last time we heard from Ruby Franke, she and Jodi Hildebrandt made their first court appearance on 6 felony charges of child abuse. But as you can see on my on the screen here, this is after that first appearance. She appears in court and turns on her children, making outrageous claims about their behavior and accusing them of SA. Now, even when I read this article from dailymail.com, I'm thinking, wait, what? She accused her children of what? I didn't believe that for a second until I read it. Mother of 6, Ruby Franke, sobbed in court as she appeared for a shelter hearing for her 4 minor children to determine custody. Speaking to the courtroom, the Mormon mom at times broke down as she made shocking claims that one of her minor children SA'd their sibling and molested several other family members and children in the neighborhood over the years. The popular YouTuber was arrested along with her business partner, Jodi Hildebrandt, last month and charged with 6 counts of felony child CA. Yeah, I gotta abbreviate myself. I apologize, guys. Normally, I'm blunt to a point. 6 counts with a felony CA after one of her sons was discovered with open wounds and duct tape on their limbs. 41-year-old Ruby Franke appeared via video from a Utah jail where she remains on a no bail hold, at least until her next scheduled court appearance. Here's our Mother of the Year award winner, ladies and gentlemen. And honestly, this guy right here is our Dad of the Year. And if you know my sarcasm, you know I don't consider either one of them Mom or Dad of the Year. And, oh, by the way, let me go ahead and take care of a few pleasantries first. So anything I say, I won't get in trouble. Neither can you if you decide you want to comment on it. There it is. So, and yeah, there you go. Any comments, statement, and view is all speculation, deduction, theory, and opinion, and are not considered at all as evidence or fact. Okay, so you're covered. And for those joining, and that's right. I said I was going to save this part for last. This is the old trigger warning because I did say this is gonna this may trigger you. I said this would trigger you. This might set you off one way or another. So here you go. All right. Now that I got that part taken care of, I can continue on with this article. This is a picture of the family together doing what could be happier times, if you want to call it happier times. The article goes on that the court hearing presided over by Judge Sushata Bazel, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. If not, hold it to my pronunciation and not my heart. The court hearing presided over by Judge Suchata Bazell lasted just over 30 minutes, and inside was Franke's husband, Kevin, who was with his attorney, Randy Kester. At another were the state attorneys and what appeared to be Franke's two oldest daughters, appearing to be accompanied by an attorney as well. Seeming to pin the blame for her behavior on her children, Franke went into horrific detail about how one of her 6 kids abused other children. She claimed that one of the Franke kids began looking at erotic films at just 3 years old. I'm stopping right there just to simply say I don't believe that for a minute, simply because who would put that kind of material in front of a 3-year-old? Much less with zero supervision.
Nobody would fucking said.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the background, but she's got some commentary for just about everything related to this story. My lovely wife, the Lady Outlaw. How you doing, sweetheart?
Just fine.
I know I'm chuckling about this because I'm thinking about the same way you are right now. Listen to this. In one of the most shocking claims, Franke said that her child had been SAing a younger sibling for years, adding that eventually the two of them began to abuse other children. She also claimed her 2 children played a patting game with each other, but didn't go into further detail. This is why I always say no matter what the legal proceeding is, if you're gonna make an outlandish claim like this, you best bring the receipts. Show me some proof. Anyway, you're looking at a nice sweetheart of a shot of both Ruby and Kevin. Again, looks like during happier times. Franke said that in May, her child confessed to SAing 20 people, including cousins and neighbors. Really? Really? Babe, how much is coffee at Starbucks right now? I may want to go get one later.
Almost $7.
Jeez. Well, there goes that. She provided no proof of her sickening allegations. The court went eerily silent after Ruby made the disturbing claims. The judge then said that her alleged abusive child will then need to be placed in a home with no other children. Lord, I don't know which one would, but then again, I don't believe a word Ruby is saying right now. Okay, this is the breakdown of the court dates coming, and this is for juvenile court, and we have the hearing types, when, and you see here all the hearing types and probation officers assigned to the case. Ace, and the next hearing is supposed to be Friday, this coming Friday. And next Monday is a pretrial hearing. Here's a shot of Kevin outside of court with his lawyer. Franke's husband, Kevin, wearing a dark suit, sat at the table with his attorney looking straight ahead as his wife made those sickening allegations. In a surprising courtroom move, an attorney who was sitting in the public viewing area stood up and asked the judge to hear the details about the molestation of another child because a mother of one of the alleged victims was in the courtroom. The judge denied the request, citing the details of the alleged abuse can be heard at a future time. Sounds fair. Outside of court, DailyMail.com attempted to get a comment from the mother whose kid was allegedly molested by the Franke child, but they refused to speak. Kevin and his attorney, Randy Kester, left the courthouse about an hour later and gave no comment when asked if he believed his wife's shocking allegations. Kester said, "He's been instructed by the court not to comment to the press. Out of respect for the children involved, we have no comment." That might be a smart move on his attorney's part. Judge Bazell set the next hearing for September 15th mediation and September 18th pretrial hearing. The judge told Ruby Franke that if she's released from jail, she will need to attend the hearings in person, and if not, they'll have to make accommodations for transportation. And this, I believe, is from an Instagram post. Ruby's eldest daughter, Sherry, 20 years of age, posted about her mother's arrest on Instagram, sharing an image of the police officers outside the home and captioned it with one word: "Finally." This is a photo of the family taken from an episode of 8 Passengers, which was on YouTube. Ruby Franke first rose to fame for her strict parenting style, which blew up on YouTube and made her, as she claimed, millions of dollars. She racked up more than 2.2 million subscribers for documenting their day-to-day endeavors on social media, along with husband Kevin. The pair stopped uploading videos in January 2022, and the 8 Passenger page was taken down completely from the website earlier this year. When asked why she left YouTube behind months later, she said she opted to stop uploading videos because she wanted to save her kids. Yeah.
Bullshit.
And all of a sudden, that $7 for Starbucks sounds pretty good right now. In July, she was called out online after a video surfaced of her allowing her daughter to go hungry after the young girl had forgotten to make her own lunch before school. Now, come on, man. I don't know which daughter it was. I'm thinking it's the youngest one. But still, you don't do that as a parent.
Hell no.
In a video posted in 2020, Ruby said her daughter's teacher had texted her, telling her that the youngster didn't have anything to eat for lunch. Here's your picture of the two business partners. Ruby Franke is on your left, Jodi Hildebrandt to your right. And that's their Springville, Utah home. She said all her kids are responsible for preparing their own lunches in the morning, so she would not be dropping off any food for her daughter to teach her a lesson. Guys, seriously? You're gonna let your child go hungry because she forgot to prepare her own lunch? Who's mom here?
No, I'm not there. But...
Franke said, "My hope is that she will be hungry and come home and be like, that was really painful being hungry all day. I'll make sure to always have a lunch with me." See, ladies and gentlemen, that's the reason why I came up with the phrase, with the terms, Mino, Dino, and Pino. Mom in name only, dad in name only, parent in name only. It's because of stuff happening like this. The natural outcome is that she is just going to have to go hungry, she says. It was this parenting style that helped the woman gain a massive following on YouTube and shine a spotlight on herself and her family. After her arrest, one of Ruby's adult children spoke out on social media and shared that she was excited to see justice finally served to her mom. In an Instagram story, after her mom's arrest, Sherry, age 20, celebrated her mom's arrest and said she had been trying to tell the police and CPS for years about this. Sherry also said that she is so glad they finally decided to step up and that her siblings are safe. She shared an image of the officer, which you just seen a little bit ago, of the police officers outside the family's Springville, Utah home, along with the caption, "Finally." Guys, after reading that, I'm almost sickened to my stomach. I'm almost sickened to my stomach reading that. But then again, I still have a little bit, I still have more to go through this. I said I was going deep. First, I'm going to start off with let me see. Where do I want to start? Let me start with one of my co-laborers in this thing on true crime, Conspiracy, bringing the 911 call by Jodi Hildebrandt's neighbor. Now, we've already had the trigger warning. You've already had the trigger warning, so be ready because this might set you off one way or another. Give me a moment, guys. This thing is running kind of slow, so please bear with me. Okay. All right. Okay, let me go ahead and get the screen ready. All right. Okay. And
tell me exactly what's happened.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help. And said he had just came from a neighbor's house, and we know there's been problems at this neighbor's house. He's emaciated, he's got tape around his legs, he's hungry, and he's thirsty.
Okay. Is your door locked?
No, I'm sitting outside with him on the front patio.
Okay, cool.
And he asked us to call the police.
What's
So
your
he's
name?
very afraid. What's your last name? He's 12 years old. Yes.
Okay. And can you ask him his date of birth?
Can you tell me your birthday?
Okay. And are the neighbors out of their home, or is anybody looking for them that you can see?
No. Our homes are far enough away. I'm not sure. How did you get out of the house?
Porch. He went out.
He said he just left through the porch at the neighbor's house. Her name is Jodi Hildebrandt, and she lives 2 doors up the street.
Out here in Cayenne, the houses are far apart.
Yeah, out here in Cayenne, the houses are far apart, so he walked just under a block to get to our house. He rang my doorbell and asked me to call the police.
Does he seem to be under the influence of drugs or alcohol?
I don't think so, but he's very thirsty, and
Need an ambulance?
I don't think he needs an ambulance. I'll let the cops decide that, but his ankles are taped up, and he won't tell us why.
Okay.
But he has duct tape around each ankle. Yeah, there's sores around them. I think there's a good chance he's been...
He also said,
Oh, and he has them around his ankles. I mean, his wrists as well. Okay, this boy has been... This kid has obviously been... I think he's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds.
I'm stopping right there. If anybody paying attention to this 911 call, can you hear the pain in this neighbor's voice when he noticed that the boy had duct tape around his wrists and ankles? Even that would hurt me. That hurts me just listening to that. And there's no way I can say that Ruby Franke is an innocent party to this. Not in the slightest. But we go on.
Okay. Let's get the paramedics headed over that way, okay?
Oh, that's a good idea, too.
Let's see. Has he told you where his mom or dad are?
Haven't asked him that. Yeah. You know where your mommy is?
I really got used to it.
Yeah, I'm sure that doesn't matter, son. Do you know where your mom and dad are?
Well, actually, I don't know where my mom is, but I do know where my dad is. He's not anywhere here.
No.
Nowhere here.
Okay. No, he doesn't seem to. He says he knows where his mom is, but...
He doesn't know where his dad is.
That's correct.
I do know where my dad is.
Is his mom home?
He doesn't live
He just says he doesn't live around here.
Okay.
Separate for the
Is his
Yeah,
mom
we're
in
good.
the area?
Is your mom around here? You seen her lately?
No,
He doesn't know where she is right now.
Does he know his mom's name?
What's your mom's name? Ruby Franke? Ruby Franke is his mom's name.
Okay. How do you spell the last name?
Franke.
Franke.
Okay. And does she live in the area?
No, I'm not sure where she lives. He's trying to help us, but he's...
That's okay. We don't want to stress him out too much. The officers will go over all these questions with him anyway. I just want to stay on the phone with you until we get some help there, okay?
Yeah.
What's your name? Can you ask him if any other children were in the home he came from?
Okay. Are there any other kids up at Jodi's house?
Besides,
Anybody else? No, I would... Yeah, this is the 30th of, the 29th of August.
It'll be the 30th of August.
10 and 14, and they're still at this house.
Are they tied up as well?
What's the deal with? Are they being held? Do they have wounds on them as well?
nothing bad going on with us.
Okay.
It's just
Okay. So they're able to walk around the house and everything. Well, okay. He says everything's fine with them. Grain of salt.
Okay.
He says what's happened to him is his fault.
Stop. That part right there, ladies and gentlemen, that's the part that hurts me to my soul. What could this kid have done to warrant anybody tying him up at the wrists and ankles, only for him to break out, run to a neighbor's house, seeking help? No, it's not his fault. If there's one thing I can't stand, it's a bully. You all know that. But I'm going to expound on it just a little bit just for this story. If there's any kind of bully I can't stand, it's the one calling themselves mom and dad.
That's not perfect. That's sad to hear. They're coming to you as quick as they can, okay?
Okay,
You're
yeah.
doing really well.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure.
He's fine. I've got him sitting here. My wife, he got him water and giving him something to eat because he's hungry, and I think the young man, he's hearing his stocking feet, so he escaped.
Well, I'm glad that he was able to make it to
They're on their way.
where he could be safe. They should just be pulling up now. Let me know when they're with you, okay?
Will do. I hear a car, but they're not coming on the driveway. You did good. Enjoy that banana, okay?
Yeah, he
did the right
a
thing.
few seconds ago, so he might be waiting for his partner. I'm not sure.
Jodi up there right now?
Yes.
Okay. Jodi Hildebrandt is up there right now.
Okay.
So she,
And yeah, so according to the kid, Jodi Hildebrandt's there too. It's no wonder she was arrested alongside Ruby, right?
you may come looking for him here soon, but he's not gonna, obviously. I think we need the cops here as soon as possible.
I'm just asking where he is now.
Yeah, she's a bad lady. We didn't realize how bad.
Okay, let's see. I'm just asking where he is. Well, sounds like he's making a phone call real quick to a sergeant. He is going to head up.
Okay. All right. Well, if we have to take him inside the house, we will. We're just sitting outside right now because we have chairs out here and it was convenient.
That's okay. If anything, he's sitting out down your driveway and keeping an eye on the house. So if that's where you feel safe, that's where the child feels safe. So let's just stay where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're
I
on
think
the
we're
front
doing
porch.
this. Yes.
Does he have anything with him?
But, no, he's wearing a long sleeve shirt and shorts, and it's way too big for him.
Can you tell me what color the shirt and shorts are?
Okay, the ambulance is here.
Okay.
So.
Are they with you?
No, they're just not getting out of the truck.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and I'll let you go then. You did a great job.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.
So that wraps up the 911 call, and like I said previously, the kid has nothing. That kid has nothing to be upset about. Has nothing to be has nothing to take blame for. Now I'm gonna bring another conspiracy report, or courtesy of KSL.com. This was note that this 911 call detailing that kid's escape. That's just known to everybody that's has social media, has YouTube or whatever. The police were called a whopping 15 times to the home. $15 times. Something could have been done a lot sooner than that.
Hello, friends.
Hold on a second, guys. Let me get this set here. All right. Here's the video courtesy of Conspiracy. Police called to Ruby Franke's home 15 times, and the kids were left home alone.
It's a privilege to eat. You don't need food. My kids are literally starving.
Not under any circumstance go into the kitchen.
Hopefully nobody gives her food, and once you hit 99 pounds, you don't need any suckers anymore. You're too old, you're too big.
There's nothing to eat.
That's who? No. I'm gonna let this go, and then I'm gonna give you my commentary after that on
Yeah, I need to go to the store. Stop. Just stop.
Law enforcement visited Ruby and Kevin Franke's home more than 15 times in 4 years. So this article put out by KSL says concerns about Ruby Franke's children reported to police DCFS more than a year ago. Springville neighbors and an older sibling called authorities to Ruby Franke's Springville home to try to get help for several children in 2022, according to police records obtained by the KSL investigators. The records show police responded to the home more than a dozen times during the last 4.5 years. Several of those visits were related to concerns about the children's well-being. Newly released records obtained by KSL investigators now raise questions about whether authorities should have intervened sooner. They also corroborate claims from Franke's neighbors who spoke with KSL investigators. Neighbors say that they had previously tried to get the children help by contacting the Division of Child and Family Services. Springville police visited Franke's home 15 times between March 2019 and August 31st. During at least 5 of those visits, police were assisting the Division of Child and Family Services. In April 2022, a Springville police report revealed the Division of Child and Family Services had been alerted that 2 children were running out in the road unsupervised, and the caseworker requested police drive through the area. The officer wrote they responded but did not see any kids in the street. Months later, on September 18, 2022, police responded to the Franke home again, this time at the request of Franke's oldest daughter. According to the report, neighbors informed her that her younger siblings had been left home alone for days while Ruby Franke was in St. George with her friend. Responding officers wrote that they saw the children in the home, but the children would not answer the door. Officers saw the children on the phone and go upstairs where they were out of sight, the report states. When police approached the neighbors who'd gathered outside, they immediately started telling us about how the mother of the residents, Ruby Franke, will leave her children home for extended periods of time and go to St. George to spend time with her friend, Jodi Hildebrandt. Everyone who came to the scene was very concerned about the children and them being left at home alone. Police documented neighbors' names and contact information, noting several were willing to provide info and evidence to DCFS. Central Intake was contacted and a report started, the officer wrote. Springville police confirmed that means the information was provided to DCFS. Neighbors told KSL investigators the Frankes were very strict with their children. They said when the Franke children were over for playdates, they would make comments about not being allowed to have food or drinks when they were being disciplined. Neighbors told KSL investigators they were aware others in the community had contacted authorities about the situation. They said the behavior that they saw was hard to label as abuse. They said they had suspicions the children were being mistreated, but didn't have concrete evidence of it, especially not evidence of physical A. One homeowner told KSL investigators that what they knew about the Franke household is the same info as what the family's large online audience knew based off of what was posted in the family's vlogs. Referenced one incident of a child having his bedroom taken away for some time, and another child going hungry at school because she forgot to pack her own lunch. Neighbors told KSL investigators the Franke children were regularly seen around their Springville neighborhood, playing with other kids and walking to church until a few months ago. Many said they lost touch with the children around April. And Ruby Franke and her younger children stopped showing up to church, and they didn't see very much with the kids outside the home. Neighbors in Springville said Kevin Franke, Ruby's husband, moved out of the family home around a year ago. Randy Kester, attorney to Kevin Franke, told KSL investigators that it is common knowledge that his client moved out of the family home, but noted he is back at the residence. In a phone interview with KSL, Kester said that Kevin is a very kind, very soft-spoken guy. He's been a great dad. He is following the guidance of the juvenile court and his counsel and attempting to do those things that are best for the kids in the conjunction with the experts that the court is consulting. We're all hoping in a joint effort to get these kids back to normal. They're young.
That may be, but I've got my doubts about Kevin Franke too. I have my doubts about Kevin Franke. This guy seems to be the type that he is loyal to a fault. He's as loyal to a fault as I am blunt to a fault. And this guy looks to me like he would be quick to defend both Jodi and Ruby, more so Ruby than Jodi. And guys, let's just put it this way. If there's ever a time I hope I'm wrong, it's here. Because this case, as much as I'm trying to wrap my head around it, it makes hardly any sense why 6 kids would be abused in such a manner, and then on top of it, having it played out on YouTube.
Which that statement just really irks me. Just because they're young does not mean that they will now not have a lifetime of trauma.
Absolutely.
Kester pointed out Kevin Franke has not been charged or arrested. Neighbors said around the time he moved out, Ruby Franke started working closely with Jodi Hildebrandt.
So if you are triggered and you're upset because of something Kevin and I have done with our children that is actually working really well for us, then I would invite you to look at it and ask yourself, what is it that I'm projecting onto this situation? Because you would be upset and you would be angry if I was your mom doing this to you.
Oh, I don't have to ask. I can see what you're doing. In fact, let me start off with a little bit of evidence of what you're doing, Ruby Franke. Let's start with how you took away your son's bed and forced him to sleep on a beanbag for 7 months. Yeah, that I'm not kidding. This is come courtesy of Law and Crime Network.
But you guys didn't.
It's courtesy of Law and Crime Network, ladies and gentlemen. She took away his bed and forced him to sleep on a beanbag for 7 whole months.
Didn't know was Chad didn't get any room. He didn't get anything.
Here we go.
What you guys didn't know was Chad didn't get any room. He didn't get anything. He was sleeping on the floor in the family room.
Resurfaced videos from disgraced YouTuber Ruby Franke are now making the rounds, showing what critics call a pattern of abuse that stretches over multiple years.
You've been sleeping on a beanbag. I've been sleeping on a beanbag since October.
Videos Franke herself posted describe her controversial parenting style, like forcing her teenage son to sleep on a beanbag for months, or refusing to drop her then 6-year-old daughter's lunch off at school. These videos posted years before she was arrested and charged with aggravated child abuse.
And hopefully nobody gives her food and nobody steps in and gives her a lunch.
Both Franke and her business partner, Jodi Hildebrandt, were arrested on August 30th after Franke's 12-year-old son broke free out of duct tape from Hildebrandt's home and rushed to a neighbor for help.
911, the address of your emergency. Tell me exactly what's happened.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help.
It happened in the small community of Ivins, Utah, about 4 hours south of Salt Lake City. Franke and Hildebrandt's self-help parenting and brands spread farther than just the state of Utah, though, as the pair created parenting advice videos for viewers across the country.
Our whole life's goal is to make our kids happy. And most of the time we're trying to make our kids happy. What we're actually doing is being in distortion and inviting them into a controlling dynamic.
I consider myself a dad. I'm someone's stepdad. I'm someone's stepfather. If I were to follow the parenting advice of Ruby Franke or Jodi Hildebrandt, who I'm going to touch on in a little while, I'd be behind bars too. Because there is no way I would treat a child, my child, like that.
Franke was also behind the now defunct 8 Passengers YouTube channel that once had more than 2 million subscribers. It's now been deactivated.
Eve has been amazingly well behaved for being in town.
But you yelled at me.
Shh. The fact that I yell at my kids is a secret. We don't want our viewers to know.
What's wrong? What's wrong? Mom, you yell at your kids. That's nothing new. Parents yell at their kids. They want them to do right. They want them to be right. What's wrong with yelling at your kids? At times, when necessary. Oh, I don't want my viewers to be quiet.
Responders arrived to the scene near Hildebrandt's home last week. They found Franke's 12-year-old son emaciated with duct tape around his wrists and ankles.
This kid has obviously been, I think he's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds. We need the cops here as soon as possible.
While investigating a nearby home, officials found additional children in the same condition. 4 children were taken to the Department of Child and Family Services, and both Franke and Hildebrandt were taken into custody, eventually charged with 6 counts of aggravated child abuse.
Hey, 314, the wounds on his leg are pretty good. 12X511, 314, medical's gonna transport him. Said that his wounds are in need of immediate care.
But this isn't the first time Ruby Franke's name has made headlines, specifically around alleged child abuse. In 2020, the mother of 6 posted a video to her YouTube page titled, "What We Haven't Told You." In the video, she explained her teenage son, Chad, had been sleeping on a beanbag for months.
I've been sleeping on a beanbag since October. And they gave my room back like 2 weeks ago.
During the video, Franke had her son explain,
I stopped that. He's telling you that he's been sleeping on a beanbag he's been sleeping on a beanbag for 7 months. And Ruby Franke is laughing. What in God's name is so daggone funny? What could be so doggone funny for something like that to be told and you laugh about it? Come on, give me a break.
why the privilege of a bedroom was taken away.
I'll give you the reason why I lost my bedroom. I think so. I think this is the reason. At least this is the reason that's been in my head. It's pretty funny, but now that I look back, I mean, it's pretty depressing.
No, we never told our viewers.
That I woke Russell up at 2 in the morning and told him that we're going to Disneyland and he has to pack. And he got up and made his bed all neatly and then packed all his clothes in a suitcase. And then he walked out the door and I'm like, Russell, he's like, what? And he's all happy. Has his sunglasses on.
Chad goes on to explain he told his brother it was a joke before pulling another prank on him.
So he pulled a prank No, he pulled 2 pranks, and Ruby Franke in her infinite wisdom decides, oh, you don't get to have a bed for 7 months. You can sleep on a beanbag. Are you kidding me?
I was like, we're not going to Disneyland. And he started crying and hitting me. And then he went back to bed in tears. And then
So that was not the reason you lost your room, but that.
Hold up.
the other reason is because I pointed a BB gun at his face.
Pointed a BB gun at his face and hung him on the basketball. It's not funny.
Franke then stepped in, explaining why she felt her decision to take away her son's bedroom was justified.
Chad showed that he was not able to manage himself sharing a bedroom with Russell.
So when we moved.
So, teenager pulling teenager pranks. Mom, Mino, takes away his bed for 7 months. Ruby Franke, you already making me sick, and I'm just getting warmed up here.
The bigger room in the basement was automatically his, and I didn't have a room, but we like put one on hold for me.
So a lot of you are like, hey, that's not fair because Chad got the lesser bedroom and Russell got the bigger bedroom. Russell got the big bedroom and Chad got the smaller bedroom. And Russell's bigger bedroom also had a bathroom. But what you guys didn't know was Chad didn't get any room. He didn't get anything. He was sleeping on the floor in the family room. And he just got the bedroom back, and it's because he's shown up consistently without bullying the kids.
Throughout this same video, Franke boasts that many of her children have been without their cell phones for months.
Chad hasn't had a flip phone, a smartphone, any kind of phone, and it's been over a year. And I still have no intention of returning a phone. Abby, we took the phone away from Abby in November. And you may never get the phone back.
Probably not.
Franke then tells viewers this choice affects her just as much as it affects her children.
When you make these choices with your family to take things away, as a parent, you really do want them to have these things. And it's been so difficult to take a phone away, to take a bedroom away, to take iPads away, to take access away. Like, it hurts me just as much as it hurts my kids.
Throughout the video, though, multiple of the children describe being lonely without any friends.
And now I have no friends.
You can play with friends.
No, like I don't have friends.
I don't have friends either.
I literally.
No phones, no iPads, and no friends. Normally, on the surface, I would likely blame the kids. But there's some degree I can't even look at that and say it's the kid's fault. Considering who their mom is, considering what she's doing to those kids, how much trauma she's leaving them with. These kids are the epitome of these trigger warnings about triggering to your mental health. It's sad. It's sad. But Ruby Franke believes deep down she's doing the right thing by her kids.
Like
because they're
They say some pretty messed up stuff.
I've noticed that you've been hiding from me, and you are feeling a lot of embarrassment and shame. I don't know. You tell me what you're feeling.
Mad.
Mad?
Because I really won't get anything this summer. I won't be able to go anywhere. I don't have any friends.
The video ends as Franke kisses her son, who's visibly upset.
And I love you with all my heart.
In a separate video, Franke explains her then 6-year-old daughter Eve forgot to bring her lunch to school.
I just got a text message from Eve's teacher, and she said that Eve did not pack a lunch today, and can I bring a lunch over to the school? This happens quite often when you're raising children.
She then tells viewers her daughter's teacher was uncomfortable that Eve may have no lunch that day.
I know that her teacher is uncomfortable with her being hungry and not having a lunch, and it would ease her discomfort if I came to the school with a lunch.
Yeah, it would ease her comfort. But would you do it?
But I responded and just said, Eve is responsible for making her lunches in the morning, and she actually told me she did pack a lunch.
Instead of bringing Eve's lunch to school, Franke says she hopes her daughter goes hungry.
So the natural outcome is she's just going to need to be hungry. And hopefully nobody gives her food and nobody steps in and gives her a lunch.
On other occasions.
Wow. So much compassion from mom. So much compassion.
Franke posted videos about withholding food as well.
And my kids are literally starving. I hesitate to say this because it's going to sound like I'm like a mean barbarian, but I told...
Stop. You are a mean barbarian. Who are you to withhold food from your children? Yeah, you described yourself perfectly on that one. A mean barbarian.
I told the kids, I said, I'm not even going to let you eat breakfast until you get your chores done.
After these videos were posted, a change.org petition was created by viewers hoping to send child protective services to the Franke family home. Nearly 18,000 people signed the petition, but the case was closed, citing insufficient evidence.
Oh my God.
After that, both Franke and her husband, Kevin, spoke to Insider about this incident. Franke told reporters, quote, "It was just so malicious. They knew what they were doing was out of context. They were purely seeking to throw hate. That was their only objective."
No, that's not about throwing hate. If it was about throwing hate, hey, that's something you can overcome. This is straight up abuse. You know it. Your viewers knew it. That's why they came up with the doggone petition.
She addressed similar criticism in one of her videos.
Online who hate me, who would like to cancel me, who would like to see me either burn in hell, as I have told, or disappear off the face of the earth. And I'm not going anywhere.
Both Franke are now making the rounds, showing what critics call a pattern of
going anywhere.
Both Franke and Hildebrandt now face 6 charges of aggravated child abuse. If convicted, they could face upwards of 15 years in prison and a $10,000 fine per each of those charges. Reporting for long.
Up to 15 years. But honestly, in my opinion, that ain't even long enough. Oh, I'm still digging in. Let's see. Oh, you thought just taking away the the one kid's bed for 7 months was bad? You think leaving leaving her child without anything to eat is bad. Let me bring you to the top 6 disturbing revelations from Ruby Franke's arrest affidavit. And let me tell you right now, this is something if you're not getting ticked off about this, I don't know where your heart is.
You guys help Uppy out. What's a mugshot?
Newly released documents show. Shed more light on the allegations of child abuse centered around YouTube mom Ruby Franke. Former FBI agent and attorney Bobby Chacon breaks it all down. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Let's delve back into the Ruby Franke case out of Utah. Just this absolutely disturbing story of a 41-year-old wife and mother of 6 who has now been charged with child abuse. In fact, she has been officially charged with 6 counts of aggravated child abuse. Now, that name, Ruby Franke, may sound familiar because Franke was a popular YouTuber. Yeah, she and her husband, they launched this YouTube channel called 8 Passengers back in 2015. It was all about the couple and their children and their lives. Very popular. I believe it had over 2 million subscribers. It focused on parenting and homeschooling. And it was interesting because Franke and her husband are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And she also appeared on videos with her business partner, Jodi Hildebrandt, who founded a life counseling organization known as Connexions, previously known as Moms of Truth. Here's a snippet.
Welcome back to Connections. I'm Ruby Franke.
I'm Jodi Hildebrandt.
And today is part 3 of a series that we are doing all about empowering you as parents. You are not going to get this kind of empowerment. You're not going to give this kind of permission anywhere else. And so today we are going to be talking about where we left off, which is, am I a controlling parent? Am I a hovering helicopter parent? Am I a Karen? Those are terms that have been put out there by people who are fearful of control.
If you have a perception, my son comes home and says, so-and-so was bullying me, and I am a parent that I don't know about principles of truth, I may go to, well, I'm going to protect them, and I'm going to go over, and where's that kid that hit you? And I'm going to go hit him. I've seen parents do that. Or I'm going to go to the school and demand that my child is no longer in the same class, no longer in the same school with this particular person. And, depending on what the kid did, that might be absolutely reasonable.
And Jodi Hildebrandt has also been arrested and charged with these same crimes. Well, now, newly released documents provide more context of what happened here. And I want to go through what we think are 6 really disturbing details from these documents. So let me bring in a very special guest right now to talk a little bit more about this. I'm joined by former FBI agent and attorney Bobby Chacon. Bobby, thank you so much for taking the time and coming back here on Sidebar. We always appreciate it.
Great to be here, Jesse. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right, let's start with number 1, the affidavit of probable cause. So we're going to start with, this is the first one, RF, who is this 12-year-old boy, this is what it says, he climbed out of the window of an Ivins residence, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Ivins residence, belonging to Jodi Hildebrandt, and ran to a neighbor's home. RF knocked on the door requesting food and water. The neighbor observed duct tape on RF's ankles and wrists and contacted law enforcement. Upon arrival, law enforcement observed the wounds and malnourishment of RF to be severe, and he was transported to the St. George Regional Hospital. RF was placed on a medical hold due to his deep lacerations from being tied up with rope and from his malnourishment. Now, Bobby, we knew some of those details or had an idea of those details before this came out. This, I think, crystallized it even more. What's your take on it?
Yeah, it sounds like a firsthand account of the responding officers when they got to the neighbor's house who called the police, and they see this child. They start questioning the child. The neighbor clearly saw the duct tape and clearly knew there was a problem. And kudos to the neighbor for calling the police. Sometimes neighbors can be reluctant to do that. They might try to return the child to the home. And thank goodness in this case, the neighbors saw enough of what looked like disturbing evidence on the child of abuse that they called the police. The police saw the abuse and took action, thankfully, in this case, because it could have ended up a lot worse.
All right, we want to thank Morgan & Morgan, the largest injury law firm in America, for sponsoring this video. Now, I know what you're thinking, right? Have you been injured in a car accident? Well, we're here to fight for you. That's not what they're about, okay? They have completely modernized the personal injury claim process by allowing you to submit your claim, upload documents, and talk with your whole legal team. Yes, team, all on your phone. That's it. Super easy. Oh, and you only pay them if you win. There's no upfront fee. So it's not a surprise that over 3 million people call them every year, right? If you're injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan and submit a claim in 8 clicks or less at www.forthepeople.com/law and crime or by dialing #law. That's #529 on your phone. Now, there's another victim here, okay? EF, 10-year-old girl believed to be the daughter of Ruby Franke. She was found at Jodi Hildebrandt's residence after RF, her brother, made contact with the police. EF was found to be malnourished, initially refused medical treatment, but after approximately 4 hours, EF agreed that Jodi Hildebrandt was found to be in the direct care of her, and she was determined to be malnourished. She was taken to the St. George Regional Hospital. So you have another child who was kept in similar condition. What does that tell you that we have now multiple victims?
Well, it's a pattern of behavior that I would anticipate if there are more children in that household, there are more abuse. I think each child is being abused. I mean, we do sometimes see one child out of a number of children being abused specifically, but in this case, much like the Turpin case that happened actually out here in California.
Bobby Chacon, you are hitting the bullseye on all of it. This woman has done nothing but abuse her children. And despite the fact that she claims she's the hero in all this, she's nothing more than a diabolical villain. The proof is in the pudding, as the saying goes.
Not far from where I live, you have multiple children all being abused in similar fashion. And what tells me, when you say that the 4 hours that it took the cops to convince this kid, to kind of be honest and say who's taking care of you, the parents have a hold over these kids. They have that kind of, influence over the kid, and he didn't want to admit it. And so that makes these cases even tougher. Thankfully, for the 12-year-old you mentioned earlier, the first victim that actually escaped the house and went and ran to a neighbor's. So how long has this been going on? And it's a pattern of abuse. If there are more children in that house, I would expect to find similar abuse on those children as well.
It's disturbing to hear that this young boy got out, snuck through the window, was begging for food and water, and the restraints that were used. That I find concerning as well, the level of restraint, and I'm not sure what that tells us in terms of how long they might have been tied up, where they were tied up, why they were restrained. But you're kind of getting a picture that we didn't quite get before, right?
Well, absolutely. And even in the 2 cases you just mentioned, you have a 10-year-old who was compliant with the parents, who it took 4 hours for the police to convince to be honest with them. But you have the 12-year-old who actually, broke free from his restraints and climbed out a window. So I think that as the children get older, and we saw this in the Turpin case, as the children get older, they start realizing this isn't normal. I need to get out of here and get help. But when they're younger, they don't see that because this is the only life they've known. So this is normal for them. This is not abnormal. As the children get older, that realization kind of comes more into focus, and then they take action. In this case, the 10-year-old didn't take action, the 12-year-old did. So it may have been an aging process that said to the 12-year-old, this is not normal. I need to get out of here.
And we're going to get to more points in a minute, but I just want to focus on something with this. How reliable are the children as narrators of what happened or potential witnesses in a criminal trial against their mother?
Well, that's a good point. And I think there are very good specialists out there now that help prosecutors and help investigators. Look, if I had a case like this, I would not be interviewing these children myself. I would be bringing in experts that are expert in interviewing children and getting to the truth with children, because, children are brainwashed in effect by their parents in a household like this. And so I think that they're not reliable initially. And as you saw in this case, it took 4 hours for the police to get the child to even admit that.
And even if it goes that route, you still got to handle these kids with You have to handle these kids with literal kid gloves, because, like Chacon just said, the kids are brainwashed, and unless you're at that aging process, like that 12-year-old who said, you know what, I got to get out of here. I got to get help. And on top of that, with all the years of abuse these kids suffered, they're already experiencing the mental trauma. It's because it's the fact of all this abuse they're suffering, coupled with the fact of who's doing the abuse, the person that's supposed to care for them, love them, nourish them, teach them, guide them. I'm sorry. This case has got me hot.
Jodi was his caretaker. So I think that they can be reliable, but it's a process. It's a process that's understandable, that should be turned over to experts that are interviewing children and stuff. So I think they can get there, but initially you're going to be dealing with a lot of psychological trauma on these children, and that affects their memory, it affects their recall, it affects their initial testimony.
Let's go to the third point, because in both of these examples, both of these children, both of these narratives, the officer added that Ruby Franke was seen on a YouTube video filmed in Jodi Hildebrandt's downstairs, which was posted 2 days before this happened. And this is why investigators believe that Franke was in the home and had knowledge of the abuse, the malnourishment, and the neglect of both children. So when we talk about what could be a potential defense for Ruby Franke, and maybe Ruby Franke throwing the blame on Jodi Hildebrandt, that aspect I think is really important.
That I wouldn't put past Ruby. I know Jodi was there. She's she could be a willing accomplice, or she could be a scapegoat for Ruby to throw her under the bus. You can be the judge on that one.
Yeah, this takes it away from being like a kidnapping, where Jodi kidnapped these children and started abusing them, into a kind of a conspiracy to do this. I mean, these women seem to be in this together. They did have their own social media business together. I think that Ruby Franke it's reported that she threw her husband out of the house last year, so she separated from the father of these children, and apparently it looks like may have moved in with her business partner, because the children were clearly being held captive at that house, at Hildebrandt's house, where, who knows, Franke was possibly a resident.
I am curious of what a defense could be, because in these kind of cases, it's almost open and shut. You're not dealing with an adult victim who can make decisions on their own, or consent to things, or walk around or text. You have a victim who is in the care and custody of adults. And when that child or children are found to be abused, how does Franke or Hildebrandt escape liability here? I don't see it. Do you see a united front where they're both going to be defending, or one is going to point the finger at the other, even though, again, based on the current facts, it's going to be very difficult to say one didn't know what the other was doing?
Yeah, I would have to think that they have to point the finger at each other, because the abuse is unmistakable and undeniable. And so I think that each defense is going to have to point the finger at the other. Hildebrandt's going to say, well, Jodi was the mother, Franke was the mother, and so she had full control of her children. So she was really responsible for this, and I was just kind of following along. And then the mother will look at Hildebrandt and say, well, she was my Svengali. I was under her spell, and I was doing what she was telling me to do, and that's how it happened. So I think you're right. I think the second option, the defense with them pointing the finger at each other, is probably the likely way to go.
Let's go to the fourth detail from these newly released documents. Miss Franke requested a lawyer and did not speak with us, meaning did not speak with authorities when she was ultimately apprehended. What do you think about that?
I mean, that's the first huge red flag. That's usually a red flag in almost any case. But when it's your own children and the allegation is abuse, I mean, you'd want, if you're not involved in it, in criminal liability, I mean, you would want to talk to the police, get to the bottom of it, find out what happened, find out if your children are okay, find out where they are, try to see them. The fact that you lawyer up immediately, I mean, that's a huge red flag for somebody like me when you're trying to get to the bottom of it, and you would think a parent would go to the ends of the earth to protect their child and to find out what happened to their child and, go and try to get to the person that did this abuse. But when they lawyer up like that, I would think that they immediately knew that they were in some kind of legal trouble.
That means that we're probably not going to get an interrogation video, right? That she didn't speak with authorities. Most
Likely, if they have a lawyer already, if the lawyer's doing his job, I hate to say it, but if the lawyer's doing his job, a good defense attorney, his or her job, but a good defense attorney would not submit their client to an interview or interrogation of the police at this point.
So as we talk about these details that have been revealed in these newly released documents, I want to talk about the fifth and sixth points. Number 5 is the fact that Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt, they've both been charged with 6 counts of aggravated child abuse. And let's talk right now about the charges with respect to RF. Okay, so again, this young boy. Count 1, aggravated child abuse, a second-degree felony in that the defendant intentionally or knowingly inflicted upon a child, RF, serious physical injury, or having the care or custody of such child caused or permitted another to inflict serious physical injury upon said child, and such serious physical injury includes physical torture. What do you make of that charge?
Well, I mean, they're looking at probably the restraints, and they could have found other things on that child's body. I've been involved in cases where you've had burn marks on a child's body, things like that, patterns of wounding and healing, and that's evidence of torture. Not just the binding. You could have other signs of torture, unfortunately, and often we see that in the emergency room. Will tell us you have both fresh wounds and you have healing wounds that happened previously in the same area or in the same pattern and stuff. And so I would imagine that some of the doctor's reports might indicate that there's a pattern of bruising and healing that has taken place on these child's bodies.
Could it also be?
Before Jesse goes in and asks that next question, I would say the same thing. I'm looking at it through a layman's eyes. But if you show me a child that has been bound with a lot of wounds, that's been malnourished, and then I see the ACCA as one of the charges, that would be the first thing to come to my mind. So as far as RF is concerned, yes, that's an accurate charge.
Be something that RF said happened to him? That
sure,
constitutes
absolutely.
torture?
Yeah, absolutely. It could be that. I mean, oftentimes these children are not very talkative, although in this case they seem to have talked to the police, to a good degree. But yeah, it could be that, and it could be a combination of the two.
By the way, the part where it's not only if you do it, right, but if you you have the care or custody of the child, but if you've caused or permitted another to inflict the injury, that's how they get her, I guess, if it was Jodi Hildebrandt who was doing it, but under the direction or supervision or consent of Ruby Franke, right?
Right. If Jodi's doing the abuse, but they are in the care and custody of their mother, Franke, then she's actually liable under the law as well. Even though she may have not laid a hand on a child, she can still be charged because she allowed it to happen because those kids are in her care and custody.
Let me go more to the charges with respect to RF. Again, for me, it's notable how specific it is and how broad we talk about child abuse, because another charge, it says the same exact language, but when we talk about what child abuse is, then they go, and such serious physical injury includes any conduct that results in starvation or failure to thrive or malnutrition that jeopardizes the child's life. So now she's being charged very specifically. One is torture, now it's malnutrition. What do you make of that?
Yeah, so the statute actually separates out those two physical acts, right? One is, if you harm a child just by striking a child or something like that, that's a physical abuse of a child. But also, they've actually carved out a separate avenue of physical abuse called, malnourishment. If you withhold food, where to the point where you're physically harming the child, you can actually not touch a child and physically harm them by withholding food. And these are usually carved out for children and elderly. You see it sometime in elder care law. You see it in child abuse law, because withholding food at certain key points in our lives can actually cause us great physical harm, and a child is in that category. So I think that you're looking at a piece of a statute that specifically mentions this kind of abuse towards a child resulting in that physical harm, failure to thrive. Your body is growing at certain points, and if you don't get the nourishment and nutrition you need in that phase of your life, you'll forever be damaged by that. And so the law recognizes that, and so they've been charged with that.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree any more than what Bobby Jacone just said. And why couldn't I agree more? Because I've been through it myself. I was 3.5 years of age. I was malnourished. I was abused, going from one foster home to another. Yes, I've told this many times. I've told this on different channels. I've told it here. Yes, I grew up an abused child until the day that turned around for me. But as far as the abuse, the torture, that's exactly what this is. It's abuse, it's torture, it's malnourishment. Something's got to give here.
Yeah, I mean, starvation is horrible for anybody, but particularly a child in that developmental stage. Like you said, it can affect the child forever, and it's equally and even more disturbing. There's another charge, count 3, again with respect to RF, repeats the same language, second-degree felony, defendant intentionally, knowingly inflicted, serious physical injury on the child or caused another to do the same. But I talked about the specific language. This charge says, and such serious physical injury includes conduct toward a child that results in severe emotional harm, severe developmental delay, or intellectual disability, or severe impairment of the child's ability to function. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, again, the statute is kind of pairing all these things out, right? So it's physical abuse, it's striking the child. It's another category of physical abuse, as malnourishment and withholding food. And now there's this emotional aspect of it. You're emotionally harming this child, again, like you said, in a developmental stage of their life, which could cause permanent damage. These children are probably going to need counseling for a long time to get them back up to a mental capacity where they can thrive, where they can learn, where they can be in school and do well and succeed and stuff. And now they are compromised in those areas now. And unless they get help quick and the right kind of help, it could be a permanent disability emotionally based on this type of abuse.
And again, these 3 charges with respect to RF, they're quite broad. Easier for prosecutors to prove that case. of harm to the child. And that's what I think is so significant. But I mentioned the 6 points. So we have one last point that I wanted to mention with respect to these newly released documents. Talked about the charges with respect to the harm allegedly suffered by RF. Now let's talk about the charges with respect to EF. So 2 of the 3 charges, it looks like, are duplicative of the ones regarding RF, but there is a unique one, count 6. Again, repeats same language, defendant intentionally, knowingly inflicted upon a child, EF, serious physical injury, or caused another person to do it. Now, here's the specific language of this count. And such serious physical injury include any combination of 2 or more physical injuries inflicted by the same person, either at the same time or on different occasions, in violation, and then it does the Utah Code. Wow, that's interesting, because now you're talking about this pattern, right? And very specific about who committed this and when. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I can only imagine, because if you look at the first 5, as you said, they're a little more broad, a little more general, and they probably come mainly from the physical examination of these children and the physical observations that you have of these children. Now, this one, because of the specificity that you mentioned, it seems possibly, and to me likely, it came from the interview with the child, because it says the same person inflicted 2 or more of these injuries. So how do you know who inflicted the injury? You can see the evidence of the injury. An emergency room doctor can tell you that, or you can actually see it yourself, the responding officer. But to say that the same person inflicted 2 or more of these things, I would think has to come from the statement of the child. And that's really crucial. That's really eye-opening in this case, because now that tells us, or seems to tell us, that, you know, at least one of these children is cooperating and telling the police what happened, which is a huge hurdle in these cases. It's a huge hurdle to get the kids to actually testify against their parent or their guardian, or their, in this case, their mother's best friend, or whatever role she plays in their lives. But that's a huge hurdle to get over. And hopefully they're having child specialists interview these children and get this kind of information from them. But certainly I think that this last point is very important. It really sheds some light. I think it's my hunch that information came from one of those children. Well, especially actually the 10-year-old, it looks like in this case.
I agree with you. You know, Bobby, one of the things that I think about during this case is main issues. How did nobody know this, or people suspected it happening, and they're saying it was a long time coming. I am curious about witnesses in the trial against these 2, because they can come forward and say they observed things, but then why wasn't more done, right? You know, I do wonder about her husband, Kevin. He hasn't been criminally charged. I'm not sure what his knowledge is of all this, but is he going to testify against his wife? If he does, if he knew about the abuse, he could be criminally liable, right? And it makes me...
Could be criminally liable, and as far as whether he could be charged or whatever. I think deep down he's gonna testify, yes, but he's gonna testify in his wife's defense. The man is still wearing his wedding ring. He still seems like he's gonna show loyalty to Ruby, and to a lesser extent Jodi. So I'm thinking he's gonna do whatever he can to protect them both.
You wonder, is the prosecution going to have difficulty finding corroborating witnesses, because they're going to be concerned that maybe I made a mistake, maybe I should have came forward, or I don't know. It's still, we're learning the details of it.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, in these type of cases, the only real witnesses are inside that house. They're the other children, the other victims, or the people that are actually carrying it out. And we've seen that over and over again. In this case, we have seen neighbors saying, we've been calling forever. We've been calling the police. We've been calling social services. There were people far back saying, look, some of this stuff she's putting out as parenting advice on the internet, like withholding food from children as a reward system, is not right. And so people have been raising the flag, but unless you witness the abuse, until that 12-year-old broke free from his restraints and got out of that house and ran to a neighbor, you're not going to see it. The neighbors can kind of have an idea. The neighbors can think there's something weird going on in that house. But the ball lies really with social services. If neighbors had, in fact, made those calls to social services, why haven't, and I understand that even the police or social services went to the house one time, no answer. They just simply attached a piece of paper to the door. We've got to give social services and the police some more aggressive tools in cases like this. Or, as one of the neighbors reportedly told the reporter, saying they were surprised that the kids didn't come out of that house in body bags.
Absolutely. I mean, come on. They've been called to that house. Long before this, they've been called to that house 15 times. It is amazing that they didn't all come out in body bags. And as you can see from this shot here, Ruby Franke looks like she doesn't have a care in the world. My kids, my parenting style, it's working. Why stop it? They go hungry, who cares? Child doesn't have a bed to sleep on for 7 months, who cares? As long as they know I'm the one running the show, that's all that counts.
And eventually that's what's going to happen when you have abuse like this, when it goes unchecked. So social services in these cases has to be more aggressive. I understand they're underfunded, they're undermanned, and they don't have enough people to do all the cases that they have. But in cases like this, they have to be more aggressive, or they have to be given the tools to be more aggressive.
Very well said. I mean, this could have ended much worse. And look, the final point I want to make about this, and I wanted your opinion on it, Ruby Franke, Jodi Hildebrandt, they are innocent until proven guilty. They're going to have a trial. They're going to have a chance to defend themselves if they choose to. But each count that I mentioned, the 6 counts, carries a prison sentence of up to 15 years and a fine of up to $10,000. Assuming they are both found guilty across the board, what would a judge do in this case?
Well, I mean, look, it's always my hope that the judge would sentence them on each count consecutively and not concurrently, which means they end one sentence, they start the other, instead of letting them all run together. But all too often we see judges, when the case hasn't ended in the death of a child, be a little lenient on these people. So, it's hard to say. I think a lot of it's going to depend on their attitude and their defense. If they come out, I hate to say it, but if they admit to what they've done and ask for mercy or whatever, or claim some kind of mental defect, that's different than them getting up there and then denying everything when you have the physical evidence so far. Hopefully the children will get the care they need and become good witnesses. That's the problem with these cases, is your only witnesses come from inside that house. They're usually the children. Children have problems with, memory recall, especially if they've had patterns of abuse that have lasted for years. They're going to need help through this process, and you have to separate the process of getting them better and the legal process of getting these people prosecuted. But, they often run together. So my hope as a judge, I hope the judge throws the book at them, because I think a person that can do this kind of systematic long-term abuse of a child, particularly their own child, is so defected in their mind that they should not be, certainly never allowed to have custody of children again, and probably should spend a long time incarcerated as a penalty for what they've done.
Well, at the time of this recording, Franke and Hildebrandt are both behind bars. They have an upcoming hearing, and we will continue to follow it here on Sidebar. Bobby Chacon, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's where they should be right now, behind bars. Before I totally end this thing out, and I'm not ready, and I'm not even close to finish with this yet. Let's talk about the other woman in this mix. Everybody wants to know, wait a minute, who is this Jodi Hildebrandt? Well, just a few short minutes, you're gonna get to know everything you need to know about this so-called therapist from Connexions. Just give me one moment to get this thing all loaded up. Or as my dear friend Brittany J would say, hold please.
I have heard this term called mommy guilt quite a bit. Have you heard that, or maybe you use that term? Every time I hear that term, I think, that doesn't make any sense to me.
That's Jodi Hildebrandt, the Utah woman accused of child abuse alongside YouTuber and mom.
I have heard this term called mommy guilt quite a bit. Have you heard that, or maybe you use that term? Every time I hear that term, I think, that doesn't make any sense to me.
That's Jodi Hildebrandt, the Utah woman accused of child abuse alongside YouTuber and mom of 6, Ruby Franke. Hildebrandt says she's a counselor, but who is she really?
I'm Jodi Hildebrandt. So glad you're with us.
We investigate and tell you about the startling twist in the case involving Ruby Franke. Welcome to Law and Crime Sidebar Podcast. I'm Anjanette Levy. Jodi Hildebrandt was taken into custody in Ivins, Utah last week after police said Ruby Franke's son climbed out of a window at her home with duct tape on his ankles and wrists. Police said the boy was malnourished and taken to the hospital. Hildebrandt and Franke face 6 counts of child abuse each. Neighbors and viewers of Franke's YouTube channel, 8 Passengers, say they've been concerned for years about how she treats her children. And get this, on Thursday, the Daily Mail is reporting that during a hearing over custody of Ruby Franke's minor children, she claimed that one of them molested their siblings and other neighborhood children over several years. The reporter said that Franke sobbed during the interview. We know Franke is a mom of 6. We've seen her past videos, but who is Jodi Hildebrandt? We did some digging to find out. Hildebrandt founded Connexions Classroom in 2007. Prior to Connexions, she worked as a counselor at a drug and alcohol treatment center. Her LinkedIn page calls her a therapist and educator. Hildebrandt received a Master's of Science in Educational Psychology from the University of Utah in 2003. Her bio on her ConnexionsClassroom.com page says, "My style is compassionate yet direct and clear of what is necessary to fully change and champion any addictive or self-destructive behavior, whether it be ravenous addictions, feelings of worthlessness or inadequacy, conflicts in relationships, intimacy problems, communication breakdowns, and frankly, any block that prevents having and creating peace and joy."
Like I said, Jodi Hildebrandt is definitely one person I would not want to deal with, simply because me personally, I'm diagnosed with generalized anxiety. Dealing with her would likely make my generalized anxiety a lot worse than what it is. Maybe not so generalized. Maybe have put me on a path of, I don't know, PTSD, schizophrenia. Who knows? Who knows? Bottom line, I would not want her counseling me, especially on my parenting style.
Here's a clip from Connexions' Instagram account from last November. It's Jodi Hildebrandt talking about how parents can help their children when they act out.
So many of us that are parents, it's like, I don't want to have to track them down. I don't want to have to just, like take everything away from them. And it's like, you're not taking things away from them. What you're doing is you've handed them things that they're not managing. And so it's your job to make sure that the first thing they manage is themselves. Like, they understand how to manage themselves. They know how to be responsible for themselves. They know how to not blame. They know how to get curious, which means humble. They know how to ask questions. They know how to say, that doesn't feel right. Help me understand. They know how to do all that. And when you give them activities or you give them opportunities that they engage in where they can't manage themselves, they're only going to become more and more unmanageable inside of these activities.
Hildebrandt also talked last year about what sex should be like between two people who are married.
If we're going to be sexual, that we do it inside the institution, the constructs of a marriage. And not just a marriage, I go and I get married, but a marriage between a man and a woman who love God, which means they individually love God. So there's no lust in your marriage. It's I love me, I love God, and so therefore I truly love you, which means I will never take from you. I will never use you to make me feel better.
Jodi Hildebrandt claims to have counseled thousands of people over the years. She says she's counseled families of all ages with her unique style of educating about the power of choice and the need for impeccable honesty. A 6-week individual leadership training goes for $795 on her website. Company training costs nearly $15,000. Hildebrandt and Franke appear to be business partners. The Contact Us page on the Connexions website lists Ruby Franke as the contact. Photos on the website show the two together. Ruby Franke is listed as a certified mental fitness trainer at Connexions. She produces content for social media, focuses on empowering parents and children to live their truth. According to the
Wait. She's a certified what? Hang on, guys. Ruby Franke calls herself a certified what?
Franke is listed as a certified mental fitness trainer at Connexions.
If she's a certified mental fitness trainer, then I'm Hulk Hogan.
She produces content for social media that focuses on empowering parents and children to live their truth. According to the affidavit filed in support of the child abuse charges, 2 of Franke's children had been at Hildebrandt's home last week. A 12-year-old boy climbed out of the window, asking a neighbor for food and water. Duct tape was on his wrists and ankles, and he had deep lacerations from being restrained. Then police said Ruby Franke's 10-year-old daughter was found in the home as well, malnourished. Police say a YouTube video showed Franke in the home 2 days prior, and that she was aware of what was happening to her children. Franke and Hildebrandt are Mormons, and they talk about God in many of their videos and what they say he wants. This week, Jodi Hildebrandt, Jodi's niece, spoke on YouTube about her aunt.
Jodi and my parents.
Oh, that's something else I'm gonna get into in just a little bit. But probably after this video. If anyone's gonna tell it all, it's gonna be that niece. We're not gonna miss out. No, excuse me. Ruby Franke's cousin is gonna tell all about this. She says that the child abuse case is bigger than people know. What does that mean? Stick around and find out.
Had a conversation. Jodi told them to leave me with them, or me to leave me with her, and for them to just go, and to not say anything, and to just pack up the things and just go. And so a few hours later, I get a knock on the door. I was asleep. It was Jodi and my grandparents telling me that my family had left and I wasn't going with them, and that my life was about to change pretty dramatically. But everything was revolved around my worth. So anything that gave me a sense of worth, I was not allowed to have anymore. I had really long hair that I loved. Had to cut it all off because it gave me a sense of worth. Going to school gave me a sense of worth. Not allowed to do it.
With me to discuss Jodi Hildebrandt and Ruby Franke is someone who's covering the case out there in Utah. She is Amanda Gilbert. She's a reporter with KUTV out in Salt Lake City. and she is actually on her way to Ivins, Utah. Amanda, welcome to Sidebar. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Amanda, what can you tell us about Jodi Hildebrandt? We kind of did a deep dive on her before we brought you in, but what do you know about her? This is somebody who professes to be a psychologist, a counselor of sorts, somebody who can help families and children.
That's right, and she's kind of being described as Ruby Franke's business partner. What we're most interested in at the moment is that most of Franke's kids, when they were found, or at least some of them, were found actually in Hildebrandt's house in Ivins, Utah, where we're headed. So the 911 call, a lot of the reports that are making national attention about where Franke's son was first found, all actually take place in Ivins, which is about 4 hours from where Ruby Franke's house in Springville, Utah is. So we're trying to get a better picture of why are these kids in Hildebrandt's house. The 911 call and scanner traffic audio reveals some of what was inside Hildebrandt's house when they went inside. That will probably be a big part of the investigation. So that's the big part of what we're focused on right now.
So Ruby Franke lives closer to Salt Lake City, Utah. Her business partner with Connections, Jodi Hildebrandt, lives, you're saying, 4 hours away. I know you're on your way there right now. It's going to take you some time to get there. But they said they had a YouTube video. The police in their affidavit said they have a YouTube video that shows that Ruby Franke was in Jodi Hildebrandt's home 2 days before the children were discovered. There was not only the boy, the 12-year-old, who climbed out of the window, there was also a 10-year-old girl in the house who was malnourished. So they have evidence that she saw her children, apparently saw what was going on. We're assuming she condoned it.
In fact, scanner traffic audio reveals that when they went inside Hildebrandt's house, law enforcement describes finding some type of panic room inside, underneath or in some proximity to the garage, that the Franke's son talks about and kind of directed law enforcement to. So there was definitely things happening inside that house that we would assume they were aware of. Having a space.
Were you aware of Connections and 8 passengers before the news of these arrests broke last week?
I was not. I think, no, we were not. We were alerted to it last week as a station as a whole. A lot continues to be revealed kind of throughout the week. But as far as our station, it's new to us.
What has the general reaction been to this out there? I mean, these are two women who talk about God. They are two Mormon women. We know that there's a large Mormon population in Utah, of course. What are you hearing? What are you seeing? Because they are really out there. They've been all over YouTube, all over Instagram, all over social media, talking about things like what sex is supposed to be like in a marriage. How children, you should be handling things with your children. They're out there. And so I would think, at least on our channel, there's been a lot of interest from people. Has there been a lot of interest from your viewers?
Absolutely. I think a lot of questions with this case that we're hearing about from viewers arise around the topic of social media. These women were essentially sharing their lives all over the internet and social media. How much of a role did that play? How much of a role did, in a way, the bystander effect's been brought up a lot of, were people seeing things, how many people were reporting, how concerning were things they were saying. There's a lot of conversation about that. I'm hoping to talk to some neighbors today. We have another crew headed to Springville where Ruby Franke's house is. We're hoping to talk to neighbors to get a fuller picture of what they have to say, how much they went to police, how concerned they were. I know one neighbor in Ivins said that he felt like, quote, one of these women was bad, but he didn't realize how bad. So I think there's just a lot of conversation of like was there a way, what prevention could have happened? Were people speaking up? How much? I think a lot of that is still being revealed and under investigation.
We know that they are going to make a first court appearance. What do you expect from that today? And you'll be attending that.
Yes, it is via WebEx, so we are thinking it's virtual. Something interesting that we've reported on this week is an initial judge believed that Ruby Franke was too dangerous to be released back into the public. Now that's been kind of assessed more. We have a whole report on that. So today we can expect to see what will be decided on whether or not bond will be set, whether or not they'll be allowed to release on bail. So we'll kind of learn more about what's actually decided today about whether or not she's allowed to be released. So,
is there anything else you can tell us about Jodi Hildebrandt? And do people know of this woman? I mean, it seems on her website she's projecting that she's got this massive business. I mean, she's saying she's lectured to thousands of people. She's been counseling people. She's had Connexions Classroom, her business, since 2007. That's a really long time to be in business. She's selling DVDs, holding seminars, holding trainings. So are you hearing from people who have actually, been in one of her trainings? She offers to train professionals, police, people in the workplace, things like that.
Yeah, if you go to their websites, like they have client testimonials on the website. You scroll down. So I think a lot of people are coming out of the woodwork talking about things that they saw that were concerning, but still a shock over, seeing what more and more information we're learning about. So I'm actually hoping to talk to more people about that today too. So as we go down the more picture.
So you haven't heard from people reaching out to your newsroom saying, well, I did a training with Jodi Hildebrandt. She helped me, or I interacted with her, or anything like that?
We haven't heard from any of those clients yet. We are reaching out to them. So we're hoping to talk to them.
How big of a part do you feel in your coverage of this case religion plays in this case? It's unfortunate. We've seen in the Vallow Daybell case, obviously they were fundamentalist or some type of extremist sect of Mormonism. I feel like Mormons are kind of taking some heat right now. I mean, it's kind of unfair, but these women are people who are making these pronouncements in the name of God. Is there any talk about that out there?
I think it's too early to comment on that, and how that plays a role in their parenting, because they, in a way, claim to be experts on parenting, and give advice on that. I think it would be too early to comment on how that plays a role in that.
Okay. Well, Amanda, we really appreciate your time. We hope you have a safe trip to Ivins, and we hope to talk to you some more another time about what you find, and if you reach out or reach any of those neighbors and they're willing to speak with you about anything you've observed or witnessed over the years.
All right. Thank you so much.
So they're not able to get anything much from some of Jodi Hildebrandt's other clients. But if anyone's gonna be able to tell anything regarding this whole case, at least from Ruby Franke's abusive end, it's gonna be her cousin. And she said that this case is bigger than people know. Hold on, guys.
If you cut
right.
If you cut one more thing in my house, I'm going to take the scissors, look at me, and I'm going to cut its head off.
So much.
The Utah mom, known for her YouTube channels, in jail accused of abusing her own children. Now, one of her family members is joining us and claims abuse runs through generation of her family. Welcome to Law and Crime Sidebar Podcast. I'm Jeanette Levy. Ruby Franke and her business partner, Jodi Hildebrandt, will be in court this Friday to face charges of child abuse. Franke, as we've been telling you, had a YouTube channel called 8 Pictures that featured her family and some of her parenting techniques, which concerned many, many people who watched. And neighbors had also expressed concern for some time of children. One quoted as saying they feared the kids would come out of the home in body bags at some point. After 8 Passengers shut down, she funded Connexions with Hildebrandt to offer counseling for parents. Here's a little bit of Ruby Franke in one of her videos.
And my kids are literally starving. I hesitate to say this because it's going to sound like a mean barbarian, but I told the kids, I said, I'm not even going to let you eat breakfast until you get yours.
Joining me to discuss the allegation of abuse is a family member of Ruby Franke. She would like us to refer to her as Sally. This family member of Ruby Franke's asked that we hide her face, disguise her voice, and not use her real name to protect her identity. She said speaking out about her experience makes her fear for her safety. Sally, thanks so much for joining us today. We know that this is a difficult thing to discuss, but we appreciate you making the time.
It's very, very hard. Very hard.
I want to start out with, first of all, your reaction, your feeling when you heard that Ruby Franke had been charged with child abuse.
I'm not shocked. If you've been through the kind of things that I've been through, it's not a shock at all. I guess the direction in which it went was not what I expected, but from which it came was to be expected.
What do you mean the direction? Could you be a little more, could you explain what you mean by that?
It's hard to say anything without getting... I suppose I wasn't expecting some of the details in that story to line up with some of the details in my own family history, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Quite as well as it did. Well, my mother handcuffed my sisters when they were young, and lack of food wasn't uncommon, but it wasn't out of a lack necessarily of money. There was a time when it could have been prevented, but it wasn't. The lack of food, I mean, and the handcuffing, that happened to my family too, my own mother.
Your mother handcuffed your siblings and you?
Luckily, I was not, but the others were.
There's been a recording released by police, and you can hear them talking. You can hear talk about being duct taped, children having duct tape on them. Has that ever happened to you or your siblings?
All I can say is that my mother did duct tape my siblings, but I haven't heard anything specific being talked about before that. It was my siblings who told me that it happened. I didn't hear the 911 dispatch call. This is the first time I've ever heard of that, but I'm not shocked.
When was the last time you saw Ruby?
When I was very young, and yeah, it was a long time ago.
Do you have a ballpark on the number of years?
Over 15.
More than 15 years ago. That's the last time you saw Ruby?
Yes.
I know you want to, protect your identity. There is a relation here. I mean, you're related to her.
Yeah.
Would you consider yourself a distant relative?
No.
So, what is the family's reaction, your family's reaction to Ruby being arrested and charged with child abuse?
Much the same as mine. I'm trying to form the words. I guess disgust, because this is something that is multi-generational. So I am very privy to the way that I was treated and the way that my siblings were treated. And so to see that further on down the line is not shocking but disgusting. And that would be there along the ballpark of what they feel too.
Do you feel that Ruby and your mother learned this from their parents, or where do you think they came up with this type of thing? Handcuffing, the duct taping, the withholding of food. Where do you think they got that?
I'll speak in a metaphor. I'll just say that the whole tree, from the bottom of the roots to the tips of the branches, the whole tree is blighted. This is multi-generational, so I suppose you'd have to read in between the lines with that.
So from their parents, your grandparents, you believe that they learned this behavior?
Yeah, I do.
Ruby is Mormon. I assume you were raised in the Mormon faith as well.
Heavily, yes.
So Mormons do not condone harming children, abusing children. I don't really know of any religion that does. Do you feel that they talk about religion in a way to almost justify the abuse?
Yeah. It's been a while since I've read the Ensign. It's been a while since I've read through the Book of Mormon and been to church. But I can't give any specifics, but I do feel and believe that those sorts of things are used to justify.
So tell me, if you would, you talked about your siblings being handcuffed and things of this nature, the withholding of food. Were there other things that you found similar, things that happened to your siblings that you found similar to what was going on with Ruby's children, or at least the allegations being levied here?
I can say that with my own family, I can't speak on that, but I can say with my own family, my siblings and I, we were slapped and hit and screamed at. There was a few times where I had been slapped so hard, it was with an open hand, so it's not like my mother used her nails or anything or had an object in her hand. Her hand was open. And she slapped me so hard that my lip started to break open and bleed. And like I said, I don't know anything about the allegations, and I can't speak on that, but I can speak on what my family has been through with physical abuse and emotional abuse. And that would be one of those things that we've been through.
What did you do that your mother slapped you with an open hand? I mean, what was the...
Oh boy. Hold on, guys.
thing that you had allegedly done, or the thing that you had done that had her?
Bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, Ruby Franke is my idea of a monster. Pure and simple. And Jodi Hildebrandt is just as much a monster as Ruby Franke. And the only thing I can pray for is that they get the justice they deserve. My opinion, put them behind bars for the rest of their natural lives. That's all I got, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you catch this on the replay. And I'm gonna wind this up the way I normally do, but I'm gonna add a little something extra to this. First of all, guys, I love you. I want you to take it, spread it around. I'm just giving my wife the thumbs up because she's heading out. Now she's coming back home later, of course. Anyway, guys, I love you. Take that, spread it around. Be good to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be good and kind to others. And my friend Brittany, she always ends her broadcasts by quoting Nancy Grace and saying, "Good night, friend." Me, I'm gonna end this in the words of Vivi Politan of Court TV. Until I see you guys again, please do me and do yourself a favor. Don't forget to hug the kids. Until next time, this is Ernest Bethea, the Last Outlaw. This is Bethea'S Byte Reloaded. And until I see you again, you all know what to do. Bite this. Hey guys, this is The Last Outlaw, saying thank you to all who have watched and subscribed to Bethea'S Byte Reloaded, your true crime and drama-free destination. I couldn't do this without you. Did you enjoy this video? Are you looking to get more information about what you have seen and heard here? Are you looking to give feedback as to how I can present this better? Here's what you do. Like this video. The more eyes on it, the more this information gets spread to others, which makes it a step closer to justice served. Share this to your social media. Again, with more eyes on this, the closer we get to seeing justice served. Drop me a comment. Whether it's on the topic or the presentation, I will respond to your theories and ideas. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button to show your support for this little true crime engine, powered by you. Set your notifications to all for future videos. Be sure to follow Bethea'S Byte Reloaded all over social media. At Bethea'S Byte Reloaded True Crime on Facebook. At EKB316 on X, formerly known as Twitter. At Bethea'S Byte Reloaded on YouTube. At EKB316 on Instagram. At King of Hearts 316 2021 on TikTok. You can email me at kingofhearts316_09 at outlook.com. This is your home for news without the drama, your opinions, lively debates, your voice heard, and above all else, justice served. This is Bethea'S Byte, and it's reloaded.